about those hands-off protests? Cute title, right? Sounds like something written on Joy Behar's lunchbox at work. But it's fun hearing hands off from people whose hands are in your wallet, scratching Teslas and reaching for your kids. And with so many trans women in the crowd, some of those hands were huge.
Then at least drink your beer.
But what an exercise in mass performance art. The message? For the government to keep its hands off Social Security. Of course, no one's touching that. It's about fraud. So the entire event was also a fraud. But hands off is pure progressive branding. Big emotion, zero accuracy. It's like staging a protest to save the whales in Nebraska when we all know whales are in New York. So, what's this really about? It's about having no argument against the thing it's railing against, Doge, which is designed to actually help the people who are protesting. Doge's actual goal? Preventing a full-blown economic collapse. The kind where the U.S. dollar becomes so worthless, I don't even bother to take them out of my G-string after a show. But rather than confront that terrifying reality, the organizers cooked up a fake crisis. They claim Doge is trying to destroy Social Security, which is like accusing the fire department of starting fires by pouring water on them. They're also claiming that Social Security payments will cease if Doge isn't stopped. Please, it's 2025. The checks are digital. So no, grandma won't be eating fancy feasts because Trump took an honest look at waste and abuse. That's a lie. But the most cynical part? The organizers know this. They know that they need to kill Trump's agenda if they're ever going to get their power back. And so they'd rather see the system burn than admit Trump has a point. It's the same group that brought you Russian collusion, democracy's death, Joe's just fine, and the classic 15 days to flatten the curve, which sadly had nothing to do with Peyronie's disease. Of course, if these people told me the Earth is round, I'd check what planet I'm on. Fact is, if we do nothing, Social Security goes broke. The Congressional Budget Office says it's toast in 2 years. That's not a hunch, it's math. But instead of dealing with it, the usual suspects deem it evil because in short term, it helps them. Because if Trump solves this crisis, that's the real threat to their ecosystem of imaginary crisis. And their upside-down world where George Floyd's a hero, the women's bathroom needs urinals, and Tim Walz is the only real man left. What they really want is to scare you into giving them back power. And they can easily find bodies to do it. Why is that? Well, they pay them. And these protests exploit the human desire to find a mission. The mission is false, but it indulges their sense of meaninglessness. But this mission doesn't relieve that anxiety, it just worsens it. The protests come up out of nowhere because a party has groomed millions of people to act based on inner turmoil. It is one thing to try and solve an external problem, since the solution itself would bring relief. But if the problem is you, that's an endless supply of strife, which the Dems exploit. At the beginning, it was class warfare, then identity politics. Now you got both, where grievances are endless. But after every protest, you only feel worse and ready to be exploited again. If the Dems do this correctly, they create an enclosed loop. And once you get on there, there's no getting off. It's an imagined reality and no help to your actual reality because it solves nothing. But there is an unintended benefit to this. It brings curious people face to face with what they could be, which might be the first step in alienating them from the party. Is this who I am? Is this who I identify with? A blue-haired they, them, and a Hamas scarf shouting that Nazis are oppressing they and them? It's no longer just you on the internet. You're now face to face with your alleged allies. There, for the grace of God, go you.